Correct.
people or companies expect you to know or have experience on all these different tools.
So coming to the like we've covered the interview process, we have created a mind map out of it. But I just like to know, like you've probably taken a lot of interviews, and you've also been taking interviews or mock interviews on our platform. I just like to know, like, what is your favorite question to ask as an interviewer? Like, I think on the networking side, you mentioned that how does internet work, or what happens when you type google.com in your browser, right? Like, that is one of my favorite questions when I am interviewing SRE candidates. But like, according to you, what is your favorite question, or something which you always ask in an interview?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point here. So, see, there is nothing like a favorite question. I would say there are favorite questions as far as the DSA round is concerned. But
Mhm.
since that's not for everyone, so I'll talk about more about what is more specific or more generic here.
Mhm.
So, I do like to open-ended questions are kind of my favorite, I would say.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, when I say open-ended, so kind of like say a debugging question, okay?
Mhm.
Or maybe yeah, debugging question, or maybe asking about that, okay, given a situational question. So
Mhm.
that there, not only does it tests the candidate's knowledge about the concepts and the things he has worked on, practical knowledge,
Mhm.
given which all things he is able to implement or tell me, but
Mhm.
it also is able to showcase me that what is the thought process of the candidate, that if I
Correct.
put him in this situation, how will
Mhm.
he behave, what will he tend to go towards, will he go towards long term solution, short term solution, what is the thought process here.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's like hitting two birds with one arrow kind of a thing. I get to
Mhm.
know two things at once about the candidate.
Correct, correct. And so by open-ended, do you mean that there is no right solution to it, but you want to know the approach behind solving that particular thing, right? And this might
Right.
even involve debugging and stuff, right? Like, you might just create an issue and show, okay, how would you debug, or how would you approach this? That is the kind of
Right.
question
Right,
you'd.
right, yeah. It would involve debugging question. It would involve system design also considered into part of this,
Mhm.
by the way. So many
Mhm.
a times I have interviewed candidates with system design, like either I have asked them to design a system from scratch, or I have given them an already existing setup, and
Mhm.
then I ask them that, okay, what is the fault in this setup which you see? How will you improve upon this? So these are
Correct.
the kind of questions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it. So that kind of brings me to the end of the interview process discussion. Now, like, what I'd like to do going forward is, like, I'd like to put myself in the shoe of like a mentee, right? And like, I have certain questions like which mentees have, right, when they're trying to start, or basically approach preparation for cloud engineer roles, right? So basically, my first question would be like, what are the kind of common mistakes, or like, how do I actually start with the interview preparation for a role like this?
So, see, talking about the interview preparation, I think Rohan, you did a great job there to cover the mind map, and also that, anyways, is going to help people ongoing about or deciding an approach.
Mhm.
So, see, one thing which I feel is that, and I'll take cues from my preparation, is you should give first yourself enough time to judge, in the sense that are you in a position to start applying for companies or roles or not? Okay, that is
Mhm.
the first call you have to make,
Mhm.
because the interview preparation starts from that very phase. When you
Correct.
start, okay, now I will go into that interview mode. It's a mode kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Okay,
Correct.
and then because although people might feel that, okay, right now the job market is scarce and I might not get opportunities, so I should start applying now only. By the
Mhm.
time I get opportunity, I will be prepared. But that's not the right approach, I will say. Give
Mhm.
yourself enough time so that you are prepared in that time. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that you are a better judge how much time is good enough for you. Okay,
Yeah.
for example, for me, it was I decided, okay, 1 month, 1.5 month was good enough for me. Okay,
Got it. Got it.
and I asked the time for from the interviewer accordingly, that, okay, can you schedule at this time, I'll be comfortable. Now, once you have that goal, okay, this date is my interview, now start, you prepare or plan your preparation accordingly. Someone
Mhm.
who's preparing with a job, which happened with me. So I had a very fixed schedule. I mean, I made a commitment that, okay, for this 40 days or 45 days, I'll be very true to the schedule. The schedule part plays a big role here. Okay. uh,
Correct,
some people say that okay, they don't get time out of job. You know what, if you're committed, you will make time.
correct, correct.
I used to get up a half an hour or 1 hour early. I prepared something around that time. I slept a bit late. I prepared something around that time. Okay. So there are bunch of times here and there, so make sure you can steal some time around like that. Okay.
So, yeah.
And when you are going in that time fashion, now the part, it has to be structured, the preparation has to be structured. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You make a sheet, maybe a note kind of a thing, Microsoft Word you can use for notepad and all whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
you make a note. Okay, these are the topics, what are the topics you have to cover. How do you get that? Refer to the role. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Refer to LinkedIn job pages. Okay, there are a bunch of SRE roles out there, or
Correct,
cloud
correct.
engineer role. Pick out which skills they are looking at, what are the skills in demand. Okay. Pick out your list of topics, what you would need to prepare, what you are already prepared on, or what you are already working on, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
devote your time, proportionate between those topics, that what time, what how much time which topic will require. Now once you have the topic listed out, get to the resources. Which
Mm-hmm.
resource will be good for this topic, which resource will be good for that topic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in all this aspect, I would say that mentorship plays a big role here. If you have a mentor, nothing beats that. Your job becomes a lot more easier. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mentor will be able to help you with resources, guidance, timely schedule, and all those things, right? And once you are done with these, keep a weekly check kind of thing. Again, mentor comes in picture here. He or she will be able to check how is your progress going along. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, when you feel that okay, you are making a good progress, then mock interviews is something which is again non-negotiable. Okay.
Correct.
Mock interviews are a lot of, in a lot of way, very helpful, because they help you remove the fear of interviews. They
Mm-hmm.
help you find where you are falling short and prepare yourself before an actual interview. Okay.
Correct,
They help
correct.
you feel confident and what not. I mean, mock interviews are your best bet against preparation, if I would say. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, right, like even the interviews, like especially if they are open-ended questions, right, then mock interviews kind of become paramount there, right? Like you
Right.
have to know how you approach a interviewer, you have to know how you kind of solve the question because there's no right or wrong answer there, right? So yeah, like I definitely get your point on that fact. And for again, like for all the viewers out there, like who would like to prepare with Ravi, like he'd be actually creating a detailed plan and would be guiding you throughout your interview preparation journey, and also be taking mock interviews in between. So you can just go ahead and like check the link in the description, and you can book a trial there, and we can probably get on a one-on-one call with Ravi and take your interview preparation from there, right? So Ravi, like again, like as you mentioned the interview prep part, and you mentioned the dedication part of it, and how you managed your time. So what are the common mistakes like which you think might happen, or like are there any mistakes that you made in your interview prep journey?
Yeah, Rohan. So again, mistakes are pretty, again, I would say, person dependent. I mean, there's nothing like something which I generalize there. But having
Mhm.
talked to several learners, like having taken mock interviews for several learners, and
Mhm.
having talked to their through their troubles and all,
Mhm.
I understand that certain things, like one thing is that people assume
Mhm.
after reading. So there are a bunch of things online. Okay, online is like an open-ended thing
Correct.
again there, and
Yeah.
you read a bunch of things there. You read interviews, experiences, you read a lot of questions and all, and you tend to lose your focus. Okay, this is one mistake which I have seen people making, that
Mhm.
don't stick to one resource. Okay.
Correct.
They go up to certain point in that resource, and then they refer another resource, then they refer another
Correct.
resource. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
They get swayed by reading an experience, and they get scared, and then they reach out, hey, will they
Mhm.
ask like this, will they ask like that. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
So the idea is that don't let others experience, yes, use that just to get out what topics and what things are being asked, but don't think that okay, that is the way it is going to be for you also. Okay.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Don't let it demotivate you. Let your preparation be your only soul of strength. Okay.
Mhm.
Only sole point of strength what you have, and stick to that. Stick to the basics, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't try to deviate too much. Don't try to ask or consult too many people. Okay. Stick
Mhm.
to your basics, stick to the role requirements. uh, ask One mistake again, and which is pretty important, is people don't consult the recruiter, or the hiring person, like the what should I say, the HRs, the
Hmm.
HRs, because right now how I am seeing interview patterns is that HRs or recruiters are actually able to assist you on what topics you should prepare around. Okay,
Correct.
if you have an open conversation, they will be able to assist you. These are the topics you can expect.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a
and
really good
that's really
source,
helpful. Even like they'll also suggest resources that
right?
you can study from these, and yeah, like I've mentioned, like I've seen, like this become a habit in most of the MAANG interviews, right? Recently, like even when you are approached by a recruiter, they'll ask you what kind of timeline do you need, and I think
Right.
that is something which you mentioned as well, right? Like you decided, I'll have my interview after 40 days, for example, and then you worked your ass off and got to that interview, right? So yeah, like that's a very good point that you mentioned. And coming to your earlier point about getting confused in resources, right? And getting confused in uh, like checking interview patterns, or like checking interview questions in various places and getting confused. So this is something which I struggled with a lot. So whenever I used to have an interview, I just used to go to Glassdoor and kind of write key what are the interview questions for this company, and the first interview question and the second interview question would be at completely different levels, and that would kind of screw up my entire interview prep. So yeah, like that, this is something which is like very relatable, and I think it's a common pattern which like people go through. Yeah, so great point there. So Ravi, like coming to like certain details, right? Like you mentioned about your 40-day interview prep timeline, but like how do I kind of calculate my timeline, or like what according to you would be a fair judgment of someone who's just trying to approach this cloud engineer role? How do they set their timeline goals for this?
Yep. So see, although I said that a lot of recruiters are there able to are able to give you the flexibility around time and all, a lot
Mm.
of them don't also. Okay,
Yeah, correct.
they do also encourage. Hey, we are hiring aggressively. Can you
Mm,
do it next week or something? So it
mm,
might not work in that situation. Okay,
mm,
but
mm,
if you have that luxury, and try to take it from that luxury from the recruiter.
mm,
So
mm,
a better thing to judge will be, that how much of a time is your current job taking out of you, because that is your current bread and butter, right? You cannot
mm,
compromise on that also. Okay,
mm, mm,
so decide on the factor that, if I put or if I don't compromise on the quality of my current job, how much
mm,
time will it take me to do the job efficiently and still be able to left with some time? Okay,
correct. Mm,
that can be a hard call to make, but yes, that's the
mm,
first call you have to make. That is the
mm,
first distinction you have to make. Okay,
mm,
now, once you have made that distinction, then you calculate that, okay, in a day, how much time I am left with for preparation. Okay.
mm,
And then using that approach, what it helps you is that it helps you prioritize your or set the preference of the topics or in which order you want to go through.
mm,
For
mm,
example, let's say you are left with less time during the weekdays and more time on the weekends. So
mm,
how I did it is was like system design was something which was which I was able to grasp very well, and
very well.
I felt that I was very good at it. So
Mm,
I in that less time I prepared around system design thing during the weekdays. Okay,
mm,
because I knew that it will take me less time to grasp that concept.
mm,
And
mm,
during the weekends I prepared for maybe like programming, or let's say even these OS level things or networking thing, because these are conceptual things, these require a bit more time to think around, right?
mm, mm,
So this is the way I decided my approach. So you decide what are your strength, what are your weakness, which takes more time, which takes less time. Okay,
correct.
accordingly categorize that.
Mm, mm,
And once you are, so this is a very minute level calculation what I'm suggesting you. Okay, and now once you feel that, okay, this is the time that in 1 week you are able to cover this much portion. Okay,
mm,
or let's say two topics you are able to cover, or
mm,
two types of problem you are able to cover,
mm,
then take up an approximation around that time, that how much time it
mm,
will take
correct,
you to be ready,
correct,
and
correct.
add a buffer to that time. Actually,
Mm,
don't
mm,
stick to
mm.
that time, add a buffer to that time,
Not a
because
buffer.
if the recruiter is giving you the luxury, he will be able to give you 7 more days of luxury also.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, you're saying that like start preparing, see how what pace you are able to work at, right, and then judge your timeline according to the pace which you are able to achieve, right? That is,
Right. And yes,
yeah.
and one point here, there's that recruiters which are able to give you this luxury,
Mm.
they will also be okay if you ask them, hey, can I take a day or two or maybe 3 4 days to give you the time of the interview when I will be comfortable with. Okay,
Correct.
don't
Correct.
commit on a time straight away. Ask them, okay, give me a couple of days, I will just see my
And,
schedule and all, and come
Mhm.
up with a proper schedule for the interview.
Got it, got it. So, like Ravi, all this while, like we've been talking about working professionals, right? Like how you mentioned about how you managed it while you were working for another company, right? So, like this is one of the common questions, like which a lot of people who are preparing for these roles have. That is this even a role for a fresher, or do like the man companies hire freshers for these roles? Or this is something which requires experience?
Well, see, frankly saying, again, very very subjective thing, but
Mm,
most of the places you will find them to have preference for certain a bit of experienced people,
mm,
maybe at least a couple of years or 3 4 years who have worked on certain kind of cloud. Okay,
mm,
but having said that, I do see that yes, freshers also can apply for this. There's
mm,
nothing like stopping them.
mm,
MAANG companies, we all know, and it's pretty much known. What I'm trying to say is that they do prefer good standard, and
mm,
that's why they go for top tier colleges for as far
mm,
as freshers are concerned. Okay,
mm,
but then there are startups and all. Okay, there are startups and there are different platforms out there where
mm,
you can how where using you can apply for the startups and all. So
mm,
what I'm trying to say is that this role, I would not like to restrict them to an experienced
mm,
one only. Okay,
mm, mm,
freshers also do have a chance of cracking or getting into such kind of roles. Okay,
mm, mm.
but yes, that's a bit subjective. But that
Depends on the
is the
company.
place.
Yeah.
Yes, but that is the place where your core concepts around this networking, or let's say the programming, because obviously you will not have a cloud experience by then, right? On an
Correct.
industry level, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
make sure that your other things, these operating system and programming and the networking part, they
Yeah.
cover up for that thing. Okay.
Correct. Correct. Got it. So, like as a fresher, like so what I'm getting is that it's much more easier for me to get into a SD traditional role, right? So what according to you would be a path for an SD, right? Like who's just started to get into this cloud side, or like someone should get experience on the cloud within the company and then try to move forward. Would that be a good approach, or like should they start studying cloud, right?
Uh,
And then yeah.
Sure, sure. Yeah, Rohan. Actually, see, for SDs, I will say like it's pretty much still more relatable, and
Mm,
the transition would not be that more challenging, I would suggest,
mm, mm,
because
mm.
they are still covered up on the even SDs are supposed to know, how your the code you are writing or how it is going to perform on the machine. What
Correct.
is the kind of memory it is going to consume and all those things. So they are also expected to know around these concept. However, yes, the cloud technologies or cloud concept is something which brings in a whole new paradigm here. So
Mm,
SDs, I would say the transition phase, uh, they might need to just brush up or get on par with the cloud technologies, what is required for that role. Okay, but having said that, what I feel that even with what should I say, their current profile and the
mm,
current knowledge which they possess, if they just prepare around the specifics which that role which they are going to apply for requires, I think
mm.
that should still be able to get them through, or prepare them well enough for the interviews. But
Got
yes, the important point which you should be focusing on is what what technologies, what specific requirements
it.
that role particularly is demanding.
Correct, correct. So, Ravi, that brings up the point of like there's a very interesting point of certifications, right? Like which only exists in like one of these industries, like networking or cloud, right? So, how important is to have a certification in one of these? And like me as a fresher, or me as a 1 year old HD developer, right? Can I get one of these certifications, and would that kind of make me slightly eligible for this role, or like would I get a sort of a like would you overlook my experience in that fact, like, when I have a certification with my resume?
Yes. So Rohan, certification is pretty much, I would say, is a pretty arguable point as far as getting a job is concerned. Okay,
Mhm.
because some section of people feel that okay, certification is not necessary. Some section of people do feel it is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to put my view, again, I would say for me it was not necessary as such.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and even having certification, uh, or even having not certification, what you cannot deny is that knowledge cannot be compromised. Okay,
Correct.
you should be able to showcase that your knowledge whatever you have. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you have worked practically on that system, and if you don't have a certification, uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's only about getting an interview. After that, it's all your knowledge which will take you through, right?
Correct. Correct.
So certifications are good, and I would say that for most of the roles, in fact, they are an eligibility criteria also. That many of the roles do put that okay, this person must be so and so certified. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so for those kind of roles, certification will not harm you. I mean, if you are thinking about whether I should go for it or not, go for it. There is
Mm-hmm.
that. That's what I'm trying to suggest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but don't think that okay, this is the only way you will get a job. No,
Okay.
even without a certification you can have a good crack at the job.
Got it.
Certification will take you through to the doors of the interview. After that, it's your knowledge.
Mm-hmm. So is it like service-based companies would prefer certification more than product-based companies? Is that the case? Like because
Yes,
there are
I
a lot
think
of candidates and they would require it to filter their applicants, right? So is that the case?
absolutely.
Because we work both in Accenture and like the MAANG. So I'd just like to know your opinion. That is that a divide which you were referring to?
Yes, I think you brought out a good point here. So I have seen this that the certifications and all are more kind of more valued. Valued will be a wrong term, but yes, service-based company tends to go towards a certified person more. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'll suggest you.